small. Just have that, and then have
Oh,
a
yeah.
little top there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, and just colour all. Welcome to our video presentation. We will be making a Rosella bird nesting box. I'm Julia, and I'll be doing the problem and investigate phase.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'll be doing the create and design phase.
Hi, I'm Rashi, and I'll be doing the analyze and evaluate phase.
Hope you enjoy the presentation.
The aim of the problem phase is to understand the client's needs when designing a solution to a problem. Students will consider questions about the purpose of the design, who needs it, why they need it, and when they need it. Students consider whether this design has been created before by researching like solutions. The nesting box we are designing and creating is for a native Rosella bird. The aim of our artefact is to create a safe place for birds to nest in. By doing so, it provides birds with the necessities they require for nesting, including shelter and protection from predators and competitors, food, and optimal living and environmental conditions. In the investigation phase, students focus on the client. Students should consider the environment in which their chosen animal lives and the nesting season for their animal at the time of their creation. Students discuss like solutions to their proposed design and come up with a design that will meet the needs of their client, as well as consider the constraints and considerations of their proposed design. As our target audience for our design creation is a native Rosella bird, it was important to research the habitat Rosellas typically live in, which includes open woodlands, grasslands, farmlands, as well as parks and gardens. From research, we found that eastern Rosellas predominantly feed on seeds, insects, and some nectar, which gave us the idea of using these in our design to attract Rosellas to our box. The constraints we discussed for designing and creating our bird nesting box included a safe nesting box that allows Rosellas to nest and keep predators and competitors away, provide protection and shelter for the bird, an entrance hole appropriate to the size of Rosellas and small enough to keep out larger birds and competitors, a side or top panel to allow monitoring of the nesting box, and it is to be placed in a tree or on a fence. Considerations include the materials we will use for construction. We decided to use recycled and reusable materials, including cardboard, plastic bottles and boxes, which are easy to find around the house, classroom and schools. We also wanted to create a box that was sustainable for the environment. We also considered the colour and decoration of the nesting box, the size and the location, as well as food for Rosellas to attract them to our box.
During the design phase of the design cycle, students will be expected in their groups to collaborate and form a concept on what they want their artefact to look like. In this stage, how and what questions will be answered. Students will develop a step-by-step program according to their individual bird box design, where the outline of the dimensions, the materials used, and the presentation or look of the final product will be designed. In our chosen artefact of the Rosella bird nesting box, we use recyclable items such as cardboard boxes, which students in the classroom would be encouraged to use, as well as large bottles and paper. Scissors, a ruler, blue tack, glue and sticky tape were used to construct our box, providing a safer alternative to using wood, nails and hammer in the classrooms. Plans were developed before our construction, with the plans including estimated measurements of all sides of the box and highlighted colours that we considered. The purpose of creating a Rosella bird nesting box is to build a new habitat where a bird can sleep, eat and be protected from the sunlight. Considering the purpose of creating this artefact, we decided to have a sustainability as our theme, while recognising key aspects such as accessibility and functionality when designing the nesting box. Key aspects included designing the circle cut out to be large enough for the bird to easily fly in and out of the nesting box, providing roof for sunlight protection, and having a space for food storage, which could be optional. All these aspects are important, and students in school would be encouraged to consider these when designing and creating their own nesting box. To face the problems of sustainability, it is encouraged that all students incorporate recycling objects, such as cardboard boxes and old plastic bottles, into the design of their nesting boxes. Using reusable items allow for the creation to be affordable for all students. It does not create extra waste for the environment, and it can inspire students to design and create objects similar in the future, instead of only throwing out already used materials. The creation phase of the design cycle relates to the assembling of the chosen artefact. Students should talk about the tools and equipment used to create the product, along with the process used to make it. Within this phase, it is also important for the students to identify elements of occupational health and safety, in other words, OH&S. Example of this being used in a classroom could refer to personal protective equipment, understanding the safe ways to hold scissors, or asking the teacher to complete a task which may deem to be unsafe for the students. The creation phase of the design cycle relates to the assembling of the chosen artefact. Students should talk about the tools and equipment used to create the product, along with the process used to make it. Within this phase, it is also important for the students to identify elements of occupational health and safety, in other words, OH&S. Example of this being used in a classroom could refer to personal protective equipment, understanding the safe ways to hold scissors, or asking the teacher to complete a task which may deem to be unsafe for the students. Our chosen artefact of the Rosanna bird nesting box, students should be using scissors, a ruler, blue tack, glue and sticky tape to assemble the bird boxes. Students should be wary when using sharp objects, such as scissors, during this activity, being extra careful of their peers surrounding them. If they are experiencing trouble cutting a certain part of their nesting box, they should raise their hand and have a teacher come to assist. Beginning with the main centre of the house is crucial, as this will be the largest component of the nesting box. Referring back to the original plans created in the design phase, students must now cut out a hole large enough for a bird to fit. Additional features such as a swinging post, roofing, etc. can be added towards the end. Once the bird box is completed, students can take it home, add bark, sticks, food into the box and wait to see if a bird comes to visit.
The analysis of the eastern box of eastern Rosella is based on the determination of fulfillment of the initial criteria of the nesting box while identifying the constraints and considerations. Initially, the design proposed was meant to create a nesting box of the eastern Rosella, which was accomplished through the development of the plan. On reviewing the initial criteria for the nesting box, it is evident that no consideration need to be adjusted in the project since it fulfills the initial design. Having had the nesting box accurately measured and designed, the eastern Rosella bird can suitably occupy it. The constraints of the project are fitted well, which makes the nesting box useful for occupation by the east Rosella. The evaluation process involves the determination of the success rate of the design project. Therefore, to determine the success of the designing of the eastern Rosella nesting box, specific criteria are applied. In this case, the nesting box was designed for the eastern Rosella, which is the first criteria to show that the project was successful. The material used, features of the box, and the size indicated that it is fit for an eastern Rosella bird species. The box has been designed in a way that will prevent water from entering inside. Therefore, it will remain to be dry, which is also another criterion depicting the success of its implementation. The nesting box has 3 small drainage holes used to drain any water that might penetrate inside. The project uses carton box, sticky tapes, staples. The box also has wires used for attachment to a tree. Therefore, the project meets the success criteria which reflects the evaluation process.